Well, I thought. Yeah, you know, it's actually taking life right yeah, maybe.
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to give an award for the most relaxed person in the audience. Goes to the small child over in row 5. A few minutes ago, he had his feet up on the chair. We can all identify with that. I'm Dennis Clements, the interim director of the Duke Global Health Institute. More importantly to me is I'm also the director of undergraduate studies and had the privilege of being instructor for about 2/3 of the graduating class. My distinct pleasure to welcome you to our 2022 Global Health Undergraduate Commencement Ceremony. Today, we're honoring 43 students who are earning their Duke degrees this weekend. This includes 42 students who have majored in global health and 1 who completed an interdepartmental program 2 major focused in global health. 6 of these students have earned graduation with distinction, which requires additional research and scholarly work that is reviewed by our faculty. This is a very special class and a very special achievement, and we are so proud to be recognizing all of you for your hard work and your resilience. Mostly for putting up with me. I'd like to welcome the families of our graduates, those of you who are with us in person, as well as those who are online, either in spirit or watching online. This is your day too. You've been there throughout this journey to cheer on your graduate, to motivate them, to encourage them, or even just to be understanding, a listener at a critical time. And who of us haven't needed that in the past 2 years? Thank you for entrusting us with teaching and supporting your loved one, and for all who have done them to reach this day so they could do this. I also want to thank our faculty and staff, many of whom are here today. One of the benefits of DGHI being a small program is that we get to know our students very well. We consider them part of the community, our family. We share their joy, their achievements, and their stress and frustrations in times of struggle. And today we share your pride in what you have accomplished and all that you have done to reach the end of this monumental journey. In particular, I want to recognize the extraordinary efforts of our education team led by Mary Story. Mary, would you stand up, please? The other members of the team include Laura Bai, Sarah Martin, Lisa McKean, Kate Sullivan, Alexis Kesenick, and Shania Parker. They do so many things every day in support of our students and our program, and we would literally not be here today without their incredible efforts. While as DUS, I get to sign all the papers, but they do all the work. But graduates, let's talk about you. You did it, you made it. And for all the hard work and diligence it takes to complete a Duke degree under the best of circumstances, you had to do it in some of the worst. 2 years ago, COVID-19 threw your college experience into disarray. We sent you home, and when you had safe to return, we asked you to accept all kinds of new routines, COVID masks, tests every day or every week, grab and go food, the dreaded new normal. We asked you to adapt to classes on Zoom and travel restrictions, and you adapted. You pivoted again and again. You were spinning down the halls. It was no doubt a different 4 years than any of us were expecting, but you made the best of it. You found joy in modest moments. Zoom hangouts, online games, socially distanced meals, and the limitations you accepted and the challenges you surmounted allowed us to see your strength, your perseverance, and your unflappable spirit. No class of Duke undergraduate graduates has ever been asked to overcome more than you, and you should feel very proud of yourselves for making it through. In global health and in life, most things aren't accomplished alone. Many others contributed to your successes over the past 4 years, just as you contributed to the successes of many others. And that is perhaps one of the most useful lessons we can give you. Whatever the exciting opportunities and daunting challenges that await you, remember that each one of you is capable of greatness, but you don't always need to be great on your own. Stay in touch with each other. Stay in touch with each other, take care of each other, and ask for help when you need it and offer help when you can. We hope we have prepared you well for the opportunities that await you, and we can't wait to see what you do next. On behalf of the DGHI faculty and staff, your families and friends, our global partners, and all those who've looked forward to this day, I congratulate you on becoming graduates of Duke University. In a moment, we will hear from selected speakers, but before I introduce them, just a few housekeeping details. First, we do have an audience watching online, and so I'd ask that you silence your phones. And when the oxygen passes from here. First, we do have an audience, silence your phones, and please try to keep the middle aisle clear when the students are walking across the stage. Also, please join us in the atrium after the ceremony for a reception to honor the class and your guests. Now I have the pleasure of introducing our next two speakers, one faculty and one student, who were nominated by the graduates to reflect on this class and its extraordinary accomplishments. First, we will hear from Eric Green, who is an associate professor of the practice of global health. Following Eric will be student leader Ramya Genju Pahidi. Eric, the floor is yours.
Hi, good afternoon. Moms and dads, friends and family, colleagues and guests, I'd like to add my warm welcome and thank you for gathering with us to celebrate this really fantastic group of students. I know your loved ones through a course I teach on how to conduct research. As a core requirement for the major, my course is like court-appointed therapy for some students. Not everyone joins willingly, but everybody participates. Some even tell me they enjoyed it. On a recent evaluation, one student went so far as to write, "It was not as bad as I expected." As a father of two kids, I accept this for the high praise that it is. And I'm sincerely honored that they asked me to share the message today. So graduates, you are the reason that I'm going to conclude my remarks with optimism. But before I get there, I want to outline some of the challenges facing science and how you're called to help. Science and scientists are under attack. That was the warning that Dr. Peter Hotez shared with me in a small group of junior professors when he visited Duke in 2018 to give an invited lecture. Peter is the dean of the National School of Tropical Medicine at the Baylor College of Medicine, and he's an expert on neglected tropical diseases. Many of you would recognize him from TV. He's straight out of central casting for the role of scientist with his white coat and his frazzled hair. But he's no talking head. He developed Corbavax, a patent-free COVID-19 vaccine that just might help to vaccinate the world. Huddled around that small conference table in 2018, Peter told us that scientists need to recognize their role, our role, in fighting against the troubling rise of vaccine skeptics and science denialism. This was about 2 years before COVID, so Peter was largely speaking about the return of measles in the US and the damage done by a famously retracted paper about 8 children in the UK that falsely linked the MMR vaccine to autism. I found this talk engaging, but I didn't recognize the urgency of his message at the time. Of course, COVID changed that. Fast forward to March of 2020, and we all found ourselves at home watching a horrific scene unfold in Italy. Many of us still in denial that our lives would be impacted beyond a temporary inconvenience. Any hope of being spared vanished as the virus took hold in the US. 700 people were dying every day in New York City alone come April. It was around this time that scientists like Peter began making regular appearances on TV, trying to explain the science of viral transmission and vaccines. While our leaders in Washington tried to distract us from the severity of this moment, calling it the flu and hyping bogus treatments like hydroxychloroquine, scientists like Peter, one of the few coronavirus researchers in the country at the time, tried to set the record straight. Now, initially, we welcomed these voices into our homes, but a vocal opposition to science, vaccines, and masks was getting louder. I recently asked Peter when the public sentiment changed, and he said it was when the Delta variant swept through the southern US, killing thousands, predominantly the unvaccinated. Vaccines had just become widely available, and a new threat was emerging: the political polarization of science. Since the early 1970s, the General Social Survey, a nationally representative survey of adults in the US, has monitored trends in public opinion. For most of the last 50 years, about 4 in 10 adults said they had a great deal of confidence in the scientific community. Now, that is not great, but there was never much daylight on this issue between Democrats and Republicans. Before 2019, the biggest gap between these groups were 11 percentage points. Back in the Reagan era, when Republican confidence in science trumped Democrats. Today, this gap is about 35 percentage points, with 2/3 of Democrats expressing strong confidence in the scientific community. You know, another gap is about 35 percentage points: the prevalence of COVID vaccination by political affiliation. In some parts of this country in the past year, horse dewormers, not vaccines, were flying off the shelf. We have to ask ourselves, where did we go wrong as scientists? Our biomedical colleagues developed a highly efficacious and safe vaccine in record time. This should have been a victory lap for science. Ticker tape parades, scientists on cereal boxes. Instead, scientists and science advocates have been harassed and bullied, even called Nazis. Many people died or wound up in the hospital who could have been spared. Insufficient vaccination coverage pushed our health system to the brink, and it extended disruptions for schools and businesses. The political polarization of science has cost us dearly over the past year, but COVID will not be the end of it. The effects of climate change could be much more devastating, and the extent to which people believe in the need to act can largely be predicted by political affiliation. This is depressing stuff, I know. I'm a hit at parties. I'm not really, but I'll leave you with some good news. You are ready to confront these challenges. You might recall from class that I had 2 goals for your learning: to make you better consumers of research and to prepare you to contribute to research teams. We need your critical thinking skills and your understanding of science to break through the noise polluting today's discourse. I know that many of you will not decide to pursue research careers, but you will be lifelong consumers of research, and you will impact those around you. You'll influence what your friends and families think about vaccines. You'll lead companies, manage people, set policies. You'll represent your communities in Congress, practice medicine, and argue before the highest courts in the land. We need your voice to communicate science to a polarized public. I believe you might call this being an influencer, just without all the brand deals, maybe. People will listen. You just have to speak up. We need you to help build trust in science from the outside. Others in this room will help build trust in science from the inside as researchers. You are the most transparent generation. Believe me, I've seen TikTok. And you will use your values to make science more open. You're inheriting an uncertain world, and you know that science, like society, is not black and white, right? But full of gray and uncertainty. You'll help us move beyond our obsession with novel, counterintuitive results and journal prestige and focus on what matters, and that's good science. The reformers of the past decade have largely been early career scientists, and you're ready to follow in their footsteps. I'm a pessimist most weeks of the year, but days like today remind me that help is coming. I want to conclude by speaking to our guests today. Let me tell you, I am so proud of your kids. The past few years tested them. They left for spring break as sophomores, and they didn't come back. Those who returned in the fall found a campus that was hard to recognize, but they adapted. I asked them to join me for class in the baseball stadium, and they said, okay. I asked them to join me for Zoom office hours, and they said, okay. I said, please do this assignment on time, and they said, no, thank you. So we all adapted. I'm proud of them, and I know you are too. So please join me in giving them a round of applause. And please help me welcome Ramya Ginjapalli up to the podium.
Bit of a tough act to follow there. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to my fellow graduates. After 4 years of group projects, celebrations, and the occasional 2 a.m. study session, we've made it to commencement. For those of you who don't know me, hi, my name is Ramya Ginjapalli, and I'm a fellow class of 2022 Global Health graduate. I know it can be tempting to look ahead at all the possibilities in front of us, but I want to take a moment to pause and look back. First, let's remember how we got here. To our parents, siblings, family members, friends, professors, staff, and everyone else who support us along the way. Thank you. This would not have been possible without you, and though we may not say it enough, we are immensely appreciative of your dedication and unwavering belief in us. Your support has made this journey easier for us, but that's not to say that it's been easy. Our cohort has been through a lot over the past 4 years. We entered Duke as anxious first years, unsure of our place within the university. We were sent home in March 2020 because of the global pandemic. We celebrated as our Duke men's basketball team made it to the Final Four, even if the outcome wasn't what we hoped it would be. And here we are, finally at commencement. If there's one thing that this journey has taught me, as I'm sure it has taught many of us, is the power of resilience. I remember speaking with my fellow SRT teammates about our trip to Kenya in January of 2020. I was walking across Able Quad near the Languages building when my teammates brought up the new coronavirus raging across Southeast Asia. I didn't think much of it at the time. Later that semester in February, we saw news of the pandemic spreading across Europe. We had no inclination that this would soon turn into a large-scale pandemic. Instead, we spoke about maybe altering our trip, maybe not stopping in London, maybe stopping in Dubai instead. By March 2020, it was more than obvious that the pandemic had other plans. So what do you do when your beautifully well laid out plans are ripped up, thrown in the garbage disposal, and obliterated? You adapt. Rather than creating a quantitative stigma measurement tool, we adapted and met with our mentor, Dr. Hutchko, to create a new plan. It was impossible to conduct on-the-ground interviews, so we adapted and used previous interviews. We didn't know how to create a qualitative codebook, so we adapted and learned from our fellow lab members. Adapt, adapt, adapt. That was the buzzword for the summer of 2020. And this wasn't a unique experience for me either. As I attended SRT meetings and scrolled on the DGHI Instagram, it was clear that many of us were going through the same collective and transformative experience. Our entire DGHI class was required to adapt. When many of our summer opportunities were cast aside, we took a leap of faith and crafted opportunities where we could discover, learn, and share knowledge. This year alone, our classmates explored maternal health trends in Honduras, analyzed the health impact of environmental exposures on minority-owned auto repair shops, assessed sickle cell disease educational outreach programs in Uganda, and studied the effects of mental health intervention on depression in India. These are just a few examples, none of which would have been possible without your continued resilience. This resilience is not just helpful, but necessary within our field. Semester after semester, we learn about the hundreds of upcoming and existing global health challenges. Thinking about these issues, sometimes it feels like a really large pile of laundry. You know, the one sitting in your bedroom that slowly accumulates over time? You try to decrease the pile, but it always seems to grow tenfold despite your cleanliness efforts. And there's always a nagging voice in your head begging you to shrink the pile and do some laundry. That's how I sometimes feel about global health. It's incredibly rewarding to decrease the pile, but so heartbreaking when you look back and see it magically grow in size. Similar to laundry, we often feel a call to face and tackle the ever-increasing global health challenges. Regardless of our career, whether it be a researcher, physician, public service worker, or policymaker, there will always be a time when we look at the issues around us and are completely overwhelmed. However, with the perseverance and resilience we built during these past 4 years, especially during the pandemic, we can begin to tackle these issues both locally and abroad. When I see the talent and passion of my classmates, I can't help but feel a tremendous amount of hope for the global health community. Just 3 weeks ago, I was volunteering at Blue Devil Days, which is our admitted students program in the spring, speaking to the class of 2026. It made me feel very old. While most of our conversations surrounded my reflections as a senior, I noticed a common pattern. I couldn't help but brag about my fellow seniors. Our classmates, the people sitting next to you, are some of the most accomplished individuals at Duke, from publishing papers to presenting at national conferences to being awarded prestigious grants and scholarships. I'm confident that the people surrounding us will be the nation's next global and public health leaders. If I could offer a single piece of advice from one graduating senior to another, I would steal a line from one of our most famous global health pioneers and Duke alumnus, Paul Farmer. With rare exceptions, all of your most important achievements on this planet will come from working with others, or in a word, partnership. Partnership, whether in service work, research labs, team projects, or even friendships, is one of the most important qualities our future leaders can have. It has been an honor to be partners with y'all these past 4 years at Duke. I could not be more proud to call you my forever Duke classmates and family. Congrats again to the class of 2022. I can't wait to see what the future holds for us.
Thank you, Ramya, for those inspiring words and for being such a valued member of this class. My congratulations to you and to the entire graduating class for your remarkable achievements and excelling under these unprecedented circumstances. I'm Mary Story, Professor and Associate Director for Academic Programs at the Duke Global Health Institute, and now I have the honor of presenting several awards to our students and faculty. As you've heard, our graduates are certainly exceptional, and so you can imagine the difficulty it is to select among them for these few awards. Among this very talented and accomplished community, today's awardees have distinguished themselves with extraordinary talent, commitment, and passion for their work, and I'm delighted to share their accomplishments with you. Our first award is the Michael Merson Undergraduate Student Leadership Award, which is presented in honor of DGHI's founding director, Dr. Michael Merson. This award recognizes a graduating student who has excelled in and out of the classroom and who has demonstrated a strong commitment to global health and health equity through extracurricular activities and leadership. This year's winner is graduating with a double major in biology and global health and a minor in chemistry. After taking a number of global health courses early in her Duke career, she studied abroad in Sri Lanka, sparking her interest in global health field research. At DGHI, she has worked with the Global Emergency Medicine Innovation and Implementation Research Lab called Gemini, where she has taken a leadership role in a number of multinational research projects that are helping to improve access to trauma care. Her Gemini mentors describe her as organized, diligent, and pragmatic, and note that she takes the lead on projects and pulls the best out of the rest of the team. Professors say this student demonstrated very advanced projects and ideas in her classes and showed admirable maturity and leadership, often while leading and advancing her own learning. This student is highly passionate about health equity and human rights. She volunteers through the Duke Keenan Institute for Ethics with a project that's working to stop exploitation of minors through global sex trafficking, which nominators note that is just one way that she allies herself with vulnerable communities that need advocacy. As one nominator wrote, she lives the cause rather than just finds it important. And so for all of these reasons, this year's recipient of the Michael Merson Undergraduate Student Leadership Award is Eleanor Strand. Congratulations, Ellie. Next, we'll recognize the outstanding research projects from this year's Capstone Projects. All of our global health majors take a capstone course during their senior year, this year with Dr. Sumi Ariely and also Dr. Dennis Clements. And the students work in small teams and with outside experts to design a practical solution to a global health challenge. These projects help students learn how to manage the many factors that come into play in implementing health interventions, and they produce very creative ideas. The projects were so strong this year that our judges have taken the unusual step of naming 3 that merit recognition. The 2 projects that have earned honorable mention are, the first is Communication, Collaboration, and Coordination of Dementia Organizations in Durham County, which was completed by students Tamara Danerly, Alex Mandel, Madeline McNee, and Amaya Mitchell. The second project is Contextualizing a Community Healthcare Model for Mental Health in Columbia, which was completed by students Picharita Anthony, Lisette Ahara, Colette Brooks, and Karina Moreno Bueno. Would these students please stand so we can recognize your accomplishments? I read these projects and they were really phenomenal. The first place project goes to the Capstone Project, the role of multi-sectoral and collective impact approaches to dementia care in Durham, North Carolina, a qualitative exploration. In this project, students worked with Dementia Inclusive Durham, which is a local organization working to improve the quality of life for people living with dementia and their caregivers. Through review of the literature and in-depth interviews with caregivers, students developed evidence-based recommendations to help their client identify clinical and community interventions that enhance the autonomy and well-being of people living with dementia. The judges were especially impressed with their reproducible research model. The project was completed by students Avanti Shah, Bella Kakrata, Barry Chow, Brianna Joyce, and they were advised by Dr. Dennis Clements. Students and Professor Clements, could you please come down to receive your award?
I'll also say that their first project didn't come to fruition after a month. They had to switch to a new project.
Our final award today is the Global Health Undergraduate Professor of the Year, which recognizes a professor who's been nominated by students for demonstrating outstanding teaching and mentorship. This year's winner is a familiar name, but somebody who absolutely deserves recognition and admiration for the extraordinary ways he has served our students and our DGHI community. And I'm just going to go ahead and tell you who he is because it's going to become pretty obvious once I start talking to him. This year's Undergraduate Professor of the Year is Dr. Dennis Clements. I want to talk about you. So Dennis has served for the past 2 years as DGHI's interim director, while also maintaining responsibilities as a teacher. I think you teach 3 courses a year. And he's an advisor and director of our undergraduate studies. Yet despite this incredibly heavy workload and many important demands on his time, he has never wavered in his focus on students or in the quality of mentorship he provides both in and out of the classroom. Students note that Dennis's teaching style encourages engagement and self-discovery. He incorporates real-world examples and case studies, bringing in outside experts and assigning projects that have tangible applications to current global health challenges. As one student writes, it really feels like we're making a difference rather than doing busy work for coming up with hypothetical models. Outside the classroom, Dennis has committed to understanding his students' career goals and finding ways that he can help them explore their options. Another student wrote, during a time when I was extremely confused about my future, Dr. Clements helped me find clarity and confidence in my next steps. I'm very grateful that he was a part of my academic journey at Duke. For the profound impact he has had on our students' lives and careers, and for the innumerable ways he has given himself to the Institute, it's really my honor to present this year's Global Health Undergraduate Professor Award to Dr. Dennis Clements. And I should mention that Dennis just got back late last night from Honduras, where he's been on a 2-week trip with 10 medical and nursing students on a research trip, but in small villages. And for the last week, he has slept on a concrete floor. Dennis, you're standing up you're walking pretty good. And so I would like to bring you back up. Congratulations to all of our winners and all of our graduating students. Thank you for your inspiring work. And now it's time to really recognize our graduates. And Laura Bai will be coming to make the announcements.
Good afternoon. It is my pleasure to present the 9th graduating class of global health majors.
I just do what I'm told.
It's part of why he got the award.
I have 3 daughters, by the way.
And we'll begin with Lisette Araya. Mohammed Ba. Arushi Biswas. Sullivan Brem. Giovanna Brooks. Isabella Caracta. Shivangi Chowdhury. Jocelyn Coggin. Taylor Crimmins. Neil Dalal. Tamira Danieli. Augusta De Leon. Parker Frankowitz.
Parker's a drum man.
Ramya Ginjapali. Azana Green. Adair Harris. Parmita Jamshida. Clara Lira. Juliette Mangini. Madeline McNee. Rebecca Malaku. Megan Miller. Lauren Mitchell. Rachel Mundaden. Karina Moreno Bueno. Shay Nicolaisen. Wenyi Oyang. Melanie Pierce. Sloan Sato. Jane Eleanor So. Avanti Shah. Ellie Strand. Aniri Tana. Arthi Vaidyanathan. And Angela Wang. Please join me in congratulating this entire beautiful class. We ask everyone to remain seated while the graduates recess. And graduates, please rise. Lisa will dismiss you by row. And the rest of you, family, friends, please, you're welcome to join us in a reception in the atrium after the graduates have left the hall. Thank you so much for celebrating with us today. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can have room for this.
Yes.